Hi, my name is Casey Dudley. I will be talking about the iterative design model. The iterative design is based on a design methodology of a cycle. A designer identifies a need and then begins to work on the process of prototyping and testing, analyzing, and finally refining the product. We see this design model used a lot in software development and app processing, but it can also lead itself to education and creating lesson plans. It is described as a design model based on a process of prototyping, testing, analyzing, and refining a product or process based on the results of testing the most recent iteration of a design and the refinements that are made. Feedback is extremely important from users or from students, and the process is continually evolving as well as the design and the lesson. It is always a new iteration of the project. The iterative design foundation states that it brings powerful results, so we need to do it again. So it's just a continual process of identifying your problem, creating your solution or your lesson, prototyping, testing, and finally implementation, and then listening to the feedback. These are two examples in education that I found. The first one is a marketing principles product design lesson. In this lesson, students are creating a product of their desire, so they have to evaluate their audience, find a need, create the product, test their product, evaluate, and then continue the process again. So this is an example of the lesson plan being described and formulated with the iterative design, and also allowing the students to work in that same process. So this is something that I noticed quite a bit when I was doing my research, is that a lot of the lessons that use this design method are also created in a way that the students are participating in this specific design model. So the teacher and the students are participating in that cycle process of identifying a need, creating a solution, testing out their product, and then listening to the feedback, and then continuing the cycle over. Lesson 2 is composing sight singing melodies. So this is in a music class or band course. The students are interactive again. They are not necessarily identifying a new product, but they are seeing something for the first time, and then they are also creating melodies. So in this lesson plan, the teacher had the students come into the classroom, listen to some melodies, sight sing, and then create their own. And after they created their own, they had to form groups and let other students participate in listening to their melodies. So they had peer feedback so that they could then test out their melody, listen to the feedback from their peers, and then start the process of refining their product or their melody over before they turn it into their teacher for final review. So both of these are examples that I found that were a little bit outside of my scope of healthcare science, but that I thought really demonstrated this particular design method. The steps of the process include empathizing, which is learning about your audience. So for us as teachers, that audience would be our students. So we have to know what are their learning styles, what are they interested in using, is it paper and pen, or is it some sort of new technology? We have to really understand the need of our audience. Second is to define. So we have to come up with our specific topic that we're going to address, whether it's creating a new product that we're going to create and sell to the general public, or whether it's creating a lesson plan for our students. So we have to define our specific goal. So our standards-based classrooms would come into play here, as we're using our standards to define our needs in our classroom. And then the next one is to come up with your idea. So to brainstorm creative solutions for your problems. So how are you going to create a lesson that is going to meet your specific goal, that's going to engage your specific audience? Then we have to prototype, which for as teachers is actually teaching the lesson. So putting all of your steps into the process, into the lesson, and then finally presenting or testing your idea or your lesson with your students. So in that step, we're going to listen to our students' feedback. We're going to do formative assessments to see how our students are grasping that main idea or the standard that we're working on. You can interview students and talk to them. Listen to observations as you walk around the room to see how students are engaging with the lesson, and then continue the process over because we're in that cycle of testing, listening to feedback, emphasizing with our audience, listening to their remarks, and then improving our lesson or idea or product. A practical application, and this is something that I've used in my classroom, and I'm sure some of you have used before too, is the marshmallow team building activity. Again, this lesson encourages our students to also participate in the iterative design process. It allows them to test a theory, so they have to make a prototype. And I really enjoy using this in an intro class because of the team building process. So for me, as the instructor, obviously, again, I would identify my audience, come up with my specific goal that I have in mind, which for me would be communication and team building. That's one of our standards in CTA classes, employability skills. So this project and team building activity allows my students to really hone in on their leadership skills and practice communicating with people in their groups. The students, of course, I would hand out all of the materials and instructions that the students need, and then I would prototype the lesson, obviously have the students work on building their marshmallow tower in their team, and as they are doing the lesson or the prototype is happening, I would be observing, listening to feedback, walking around the room, asking students questions about the process, all while they are, again, replicating that same design model while they're building their tower. They are coming up with their ideas, they're testing them out, they're seeing if they work or not, listening to the feedback from each other on how that they can improve their tower. And then I, of course, am listening on ways that I could improve the lesson overall and look for ideas to maybe make it more engaging or to really build in some more of those leadership skills that they need. So this is an example of a iterative design lesson that I incorporate with my students in my classroom. And finally, I have my reference page.